everyone, I'm Natalie Marcotullio, and I'm the head of growth at Navattic, and I'm going to talk to you about how we got our MQL to operate to consistently be around 50 to 60% with interactive content on our website. So for us, an MQL is anyone who raises their hand, says they want to talk to sales, and we do our best to pre-qualify our MQLs and make sure they know what they're signing up for before a live sales call by adding interactive demo content directly to the homepage of our website. This means any website visitor can play around with our product without necessarily needing to give their information first and get a feel for what we do. And our interactive demo also has about like a 50% click-through rate to the book a demo page. So showing that most of the users who do go through it are ready to maybe go to that next step, jump on a live call. And since interactive demos are all no code, I set it up all myself as the marketing team. I just need a little help from my website team to get it up and embedded. So this can really work for any SaaS marketer just looking to show a little bit more of their product on their website to help with MQL to opportunity rate.
If that resonates with you, listen along. Also, check out our other episodes. You're listening to TLDR, the B2B SaaS growth podcast brought to you by Spear Growth. The goal of the podcast is to enable you, our listeners, to generate an additional $100,000 in cumulative pipeline by May 2024. To do this, we bring people who have made a real impact in their companies. They cut through the fluff and dive deep into one tactic or strategy of theirs. I'm your host Ishan. Let's generate pipeline.
Hey Natalie, it's always great speaking with. I think we last spoke on a live as well, and we've done so many of these. So I really enjoy speaking with you every single time, and I really appreciate you coming here.
Yeah, I was going to say, what is this, like talk number 5, Ishan? I feel like we've both done some things for each other. So I'm just glad we have a cadence of every so often get to do these.
Oh yeah, and it's always a lot of fun, more than just informative. It's always fun.
Awesome.
So
That's my goal.
love it. So for the people who don't know you, like what do you do at Navatic? And I know that I think the things that you've done has also recent or are going to be doing has recently changed. So just a bit of context there, and then we'll jump right into the topic.
Yeah, so at Navattic, I lead our growth and marketing. So really, basically everything from brand awareness, thought leadership to more conversion activities like website optimization or just trying to optimize throughout the entire funnel. Not surprisingly, a lot of what I do involves using interactive demos. That's what we do at Navattic. So I try to I'm going to say dog food, drink your own champagne, however you want to call it, our product as much as possible within our actual marketing cycle.
Awesome. So just let's just dive into it, right? So you've mentioned that you use your website to optimize the MQL2 opportunity rate with interactive content. Can you break down what that actually looks like in more specific details? Like what was interactive, where was it interactive, and then how is it related to MQL and ops? Just going into the details of what it was to paint a better picture in the listeners' minds.
Yeah, and if you go to our website, you can see it, but essentially it's right below the fold. If you hit like the try a demo button, it's only like 8 steps. And we found from our own internal data to really keep these interactive content as short as possible, 8 to 15 steps, and just a very high level overview of some of the aha moments of what our product does. But it's not necessarily like a video where, you are kind of passively watching and there's maybe some of the product, maybe a little bit of filler in between it. It really is just feeling like you're in the product, going through step by step, so that you kind of have an idea of like, oh, this is what the UI looks like. This is what this action within their product would look like, and you're like, okay, I understand what I'm signing up for.
Understood. And you've mentioned that it was a pretty significant increase in MQL to operate. Like what was it before and after? Like, can you maybe just uh, drop clear picture on that as well?
Yeah, and we always had a demo on our website, but we used to have it gated. We used to have a little below the fold. Like this is the most prominent it's ever been. And before we had lifted it up, it was covering around like 30 to 40%, which was still pretty good. And I think part of it is because our MQL, like I said, is a really high threshold. It is someone who literally books a demo. We don't have any other gated content on our website at this point. So there's no other way to measure an MQL. But we wanted to make sure that almost anyone who does book a demo or someone who does talk to our sales team has an opportunity to see that interactive content, which is why we decided to ungate and make it as high up as possible.
Understood. So, uh, two questions here. So, one, you've just sort of you had an interactive demo earlier as well, and now you
Yeah,
just ungated it,
yeah,
right?
exactly. And made it higher up on the page.
So, did that make more people go through it? Obviously, it did, but then did more of those folks sign up? Did less sign up? Because, and the reason why I'm asking that specific is in most companies that we work with, usually to increase MQL to opportunity rate, you have to increase the quality of the MQLs. So how did a change like, and that's usually more of, hey, where are you sourcing the MQs from, who's coming to the page, and things like that. So how did this change increase an MQL to operate? In my head, did you disqualify more folks? Do you have a thesis on like what happened?
Yeah, I think my theory is we didn't see a crazy amount of increase or decrease as far as like the number of leads. We did see a little bit decrease once we ungated it. So probably people who maybe saw the gate up front said, I'm good. If I have to put in my email, might as well just book a live demo anyways. And then they got on the call and then were like, oh, actually, this wasn't exactly what I was thinking. Versus by ungating it, we did see a slight decrease in the number of leads we were getting, but we did see a majority. I don't have the numbers as far as how many used to go through the demo versus now, but we did just see an increase of awareness of people for what they were signing up for.
Yeah, and I think even so, one thing that we've discussed this earlier, like a lot of times as well, but there's a lot of value in people seeing it who did not sign up for a demo as well. Because earlier, if it was gated, few people are seeing it, and isn't that like the best thing for anyone to go through, like your own product and experiencing it? So I think there's a lot of value there. So, and we're not even talking about that. We're just purely talking about how it's sort of your funnel itself is more efficient now. Sales is spending less time on stuff like this, and at the same time there's definitely some value which is hard to measure, but on people who just saw it, went through it. And do you know how many people went? I know you probably have some
Hmm.
data around how many people more are seeing the demo now versus they were seeing earlier, seeing the product essentially.
Yeah, right now we see about like 30 to 40% of our website visitors will go through the demo.
Really? 30
Yeah.
30%? Wow. Okay.
Sometimes some months on the higher end, like 40. And like I said, it's right there. And it's also in other parts of the website, like it's kind of in your face. Kind of, and our website is also, I'd say, like minimalistic. So the goal was that you really kind of had not had to go through the demo, but it was a major
Mhm.
highlight of the website. I think in the past is a little closer to like 20 to 30% of leads would go through with the gate. But we've also seen now that I think I mentioned this in the intro, but 50% of people who go through the demo will then go to the book a demo page. So at least they're going into the next step. But that doesn't mean they're going to book a demo, but enough people are interested to say like, hey, at least let me like get to that next step.
Yeah, and I think that's a one interesting thing for me here is that let's say if you take a website without an interactive demo at all, um, let's say there's a 5% conversion rate on the page to a demo call, and then the first call is very often more of a discovery, and then there's a drop off before from a demo book to a discovery, and discovery to a demo there's another drop off layer. So even if a lot of people who are not in your ICP have seen the product now, a lot more people in your ICP have seen the product, which I'm sure has a lot of value in itself. Just like people being able to see it, because it's if you've read about it or heard about something, is it's a very different thing than if you've experienced it. And I'm sure a lot of those folks would maybe come back later on and just schedule a demo. Is there a way to maybe track that, attribute that at all as of now?
We can track now that it's ungated, we can track what accounts go through it. And we're all running actually a retargeting campaign right now where any account that goes through the demo within our ICP are good fits. We're retargeting on LinkedIn with thought leadership ads right now. And so far, I don't have the number as far as conversion rate off the top of my head, but we've run that for about 45 days and we've seen 2x ROI as far as just one. We've seen 4 opportunities from it and like 10x ROI from pipeline. So it's, I mean, in my mind, it's like these are people who are literally going through your product. They have seen the full thing. It's not surprising that this was a high converting campaign, but it at least for me, it was such a higher piece of intent than any other intent I had before because it's like, oh, they've
Yeah.
literally seen the product. I know that they are interested.
Yeah, and every number that you say is so surprising, but then it's also obvious at the same time because people are on your website to know about the product and they saw the product and I'm surprised, but I shouldn't be. And then they've seen the product and now they're converting, and again I'm surprised again because the campaign performed so well, but it's kind of obvious. It's very interesting in that sense. It's a little tricky to think through.
Yeah, it's funny I preface that because I have to think of it a little different than like an ABM campaign that's entirely outbound, where it's they've never seen your product or know it. But at least for us, like we have a pretty small ad spend. So knowing of like, okay, at least for now, we're gonna focus all our ad spend and companies we really know are interested in our product, maybe just need that final push, versus companies that might take a little longer to warm up. And there's a lot of value in that too, but just at this time as we're trying to optimize spend.
Sure. So let's actually go into the implementation aspect, I guess, right? So can you walk us through the entire tech stack, the people involved, and the time involved, and just like more from a timeline perspective that this at this time, this is what this person did and implemented this tech in that format. Just can you walk us through that entire process?
Yeah, we decided to change up last year our demo from ungated to gated, and I'll start from the beginning. I mean, we've always had a demo on our home site, but for me, I went through the process of redesigning the demo, cutting it down, making it shorter, making sure we were focusing on those aha moments. That probably took redesigning like a week or so to lay it out, get feedback, making sure everyone was aligned with what we were showing, asking the sales team, and then if we probably like a day of building, just really
Yeah.
optimizing like the actual quick building process to probably like 30 minutes to an hour, and then getting again feedback on it, making tweaks. Like I always say, the easy
Yeah.
part is building the demo. The hard part is really
Yeah.
making it pop. Um, and then implementing on the website, similar to like adding a video to the website.
Mhm.
So it depends on your website builder and team. We have like a home coded website. So I handed it off to the website team and said, okay, let's add this in. And that took, I'm trying to think. I mean, that
Probably a
was
day.
basically part of the
Yeah.
entire implementation redo, but
Yeah.
it's similar, like I said, to adding like a video.
Yeah. And is that it, or like that's the first time when you sort of got it? And how do you gate ungate, or what does that flow to a demo? Like how does that all link? Because where do people book the demo? How do you implement that piece of it?
Yeah. So we have like a native form. So we just remove the form. So that took like a second to add in a remove a form, which is pretty nice on my end. That didn't have to like worry about adding in a third party form or anything like that. And then at the end of the demo, we have just like a CTA that says, ready to hop on a live call, and then links out to the book a demo page. And we have UTM track on that. So we can see that's how we know that 50% of people who go through the demo ultimately land on the book a demo page. One thing that also helped is we added in this little like CTA banner. So the entire time when you're going through the demo, there's an option like, okay, are you ready for a live demo? You can go and convert now.
Interesting. So the longest part of this entire project is trying to figure out, okay, what exactly should the different screens, and basically storyboarding the demo is what took the longest, and then maybe looking at analytics, and then redoing the demo is the second thing that, again, because of the same reason, takes the most amount of time. The rest of the implementation seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, we always hear from our customers that it's not the hard part isn't building it. The hard part is deciding what to show
Yeah.
and what to highlight, and also getting alignment on it, which is why we really recommend, and I probably skipped this step, like try to lay it all out as much as possible, storyboard it out, and get approval then versus after you built it.
And from a pure cost perspective, um, was there anything at all apart from Navattic itself?
Not from apart from Navattic, because we don't have, like I said, we have a home coded website. I guess you could say the
Okay.
hours spent
Yeah.
on the website, but that's our own team.
Yeah.
But obviously we can use Navattic because we are Navattic. But really, that was an interactive demo platform is the cost.
Got it. And then if you had to sort of just for anyone looking to implement it, just give a ballpark of maybe Novatic or anyone else, like just a broad range of what to expect there.
Yeah, and we actually have like pricing on our website, so if you want to check that out, but probably around like 6K. And depends what you're looking for, right? Like if you're looking to just get started with something really quick and simple, there are options that are all like screenshot based that aren't the full HTML CSS capture that are a little less expensive. So it's not like you have to kind of start with the full thing. It's there are ways to experiment with just I always say like just try adding a little more product content on your website, even if it's more GIFs, even if it is more just images to start, just like adding more product content you're going to see is going to help as far as educating leads and that MQL to operate.
Yeah. Understood. And this then just two last questions, I guess, right? So one is you then ran on ads to the same audience. Uh, did you just build that audience based on? Did you add the pixel to the product? Did you just look at anyone who has that UTM? Like, how did you build that audience?
We actually have a tracking feature so we can see which accounts are going through your interactive demo, powered by like Clearbit tracking.
Okay.
So you can say, okay, I know these accounts are going through, and then I sent those accounts to HubSpot, sort of matched them with my ICP, sent them to LinkedIn from HubSpot using audiences. Again, did another layer of like persona matching. So that's how I can make sure, okay, not only the accounts, but the personas in that account
Yeah.
that I know that matter. And I know every person in that account also went through the interactive demo, but
Mhm.
hopefully there's some talk about it. There's some knowledge of it, especially if it's a more mid-market account. So then, multiple people on the team, when it comes up and someone says, hey, I'm looking at Navattic, multiple people could be like, oh, yeah, I saw some ads from them. I know what that is.
Yeah. Interesting. That's actually very cool. So, if you so you mentioned that you had to go through a couple of rounds of you had to rebuild it essentially, right? So, what were some things that you found that hey, this is if I just knew this, I would do this from the start, from the get go, or some tips when doing something like this that you messed up or others mess up, and then we should keep in mind.
I was so guilty of doing this, and it's one of the biggest things I coach. I always say interactive demos, it's not like a how to, it's a story, and you're showing the outcomes. And the first time I built it, it was definitely like, look at this feature, click here to see this feature, look at this other feature. And that's not it. It should be like, hey, this is the value of what you're seeing. And
Hmm.
now we have it laid out in like a step by step process of like, here is the steps to build the demo, not here's how to use our platform.
Yeah.
So that was something I was guilty of. I did myself, but think of it more of a story than like a how to.
Hmm. Understood. And that's the biggest thing that you want to look at. And then I'm sure you get, or like a lot of people will think through this, right? So let's say if you have to 6K for a product like this, there might be ROI, but still a significant investment. So, and then the alternatives could be, let's say, the lowest cost alternative would be screenshots. Then there are GIFs and then videos. And then I guess it's something like an interactive demo. So how would you say who should do what essentially? I think everyone should showcase the product.
Mm.
If you have a product company and you're not showcasing your product, that's you should not be allowed to exist. But then I'm just being mean, but yeah. But if you had to do this, who do you think should showcase the product via images, and who should do it via something like an interactive demo?
Yeah, I'd say like we hear a lot from startups that maybe are like pre-product or don't, their UI is like constantly changing the early days. Then, screenshots or like more graphic design of your product might be okay. Because if it's constantly changing, this is something you'd have to update like weekly. That might not make the most sense. Like screenshots might be the best bet then. I think what's a really good fit if your UI and how simple your product is a differentiator, then you really want to show the actual UI and the feel of using the product. Like we often hear companies say, we know that our ease of use or the fact that this particular workflow is a big differentiator for us, but it's really hard to show off and explain until someone does it. I think that's a case where you want kind of the full look and feel clone of the product. But if you're newer, getting started, figuring it out, I think screenshots are fine. And I also say too, you can always start with screenshots, and if you see success, work your way up.
Yeah, makes sense. So, is there anything that I asked that I haven't asked that you think I should have?
I don't think anything you asked. I think a good clarifying point I
Hmm.
wanted to go back to before, because you
Yeah.
mentioned the MQL to operate, jumping on a first call, doing discovery, then giving a demo. Another thing that the interactive demos let us do is we actually demo on the first call. And this was also just always built into our sales process. But I think that's also helped include that or increase that MQL to operate, because it's not like we're making this person get on multiple calls to see the
Yeah.
product. They've seen it. And then on the first call, since we know they have an understanding of it, we can then go into demo and not worry about like wasting our sales team time.
That's actually a very interesting point. I hadn't thought of that at all. Because if they've already gone through the product and they still have scheduled the demo, that's very low chance that they won't be a good fit. Yeah, that's definitely. How do you manage? And I know this is not exactly what we were discussing, but how do you manage companies that maybe just cannot afford Navattic, or companies that are too small, or anything like that in a process like this? Because I think that's the primary reason a lot of companies have a discovery before ops, or is it because of the source of your traffic that you don't need to do it?
I will say we do like a blend disco discovery. And if someone puts in the in the description of the call notes, like before they sign up for the live demo, like, hey, I just want to talk about pricing, we'll start the conversation with pricing. And then if it doesn't make sense, we'll end the call early. That's part of it too. Like we try to start the call with what needs to get addressed and then dive in. But we also do have a startup plan. And I think it's really, kind of what I mentioned before, like just education on if you don't have a product with a built out UI yet, just a little bit of education of like, hey, this might not be the best fit for you yet, but I'll tell you a little bit about it when it's down the line, but I won't make you sit on a whole 30-minute call. We can talk about it for 5 minutes and then go about our day.
Oh, interesting. um yeah, and then so I think the last thing that I'd want you to do, and this is a fun bit, could you maybe give a 30-second pitch of Navattic, or a 1 minute pitch of Navattic to anyone listening, and why they should get it, and from where? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to describe it is try before you buy for software. Basically, exactly what we've been talking about, right? Like, if you want to give your prospects a chance to quickly understand your product, get more educated, not waste your sales team's time, you can use this on websites, or also just like send it earlier in the sales cycle if you're not ready to put it on your website yet. But just giving prospects basically what they want, a little more product information up front.
Nice. And that's perfect. I really appreciate this. And if anyone wants to find you, talk to you, ask a couple of questions, where should they go?
Yeah, not surprisingly, LinkedIn. Some of the experiments I mentioned, like the retargeting one, I post that type of stuff on LinkedIn. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Happy to talk.
Yeah, and Natalie is one of the easiest people to speak with. She's very warm and inviting when you do. So I would definitely recommend you do that. So,
Oh,
so
that just made my day. Thank you.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the TLDR podcast. In case you're wondering, Spear Growth is a marketing agency. We help B2B SaaS companies like yourself with ads and SEO. Check out our website at speargrowth.com. That is SPEARGROWTH.com. Just like this, every episode starts with a 1-minute summary of what we discuss. Pick the next episode to listen to based on what you can implement right away. And after you implement any of these tactics and see an impact, we'd appreciate you drop us a note on podcast@speargrowth.com.